Yona is a very spoiled princess, living all her life in her father's castle, and she loves her cousin Sue, who has been away for a long time, waiting for the moment they meet again, but she never knew that Sue would be the one to kill her father in front of her eyes and destroy her life. On the day of the princess's 16th birthday, the king throws her a party so she can appear before the people, but when she is late, the king goes out alone and finishes his speech before she manages to come out, so she feels sad she didn't greet the people, and her father comforts her, saying it was just formality and not necessary for her to appear. Hack, one of the 5 military commanders who protect the castle and the princess's personal guard, enters and mockingly tells the princess that one has arrived. So she becomes nervous and tells him he should have told her earlier, then rushes out to meet her gentle friend, who always stayed by her side during childhood, and at the same time, he is her cousin 3 years older than her. While she runs, she bumps into one, who greets her and congratulates her on her birthday, but then suddenly leaves her to greet his uncle the king and his friend Hack. So the princess stands upset that he treated her like a child, and left quickly even though she spent a long time preparing to meet him. The princess remembers when they were kids and one tried to comfort her after her mother died and was always reassuring her, and since then, he became a very special person to her. She decides to try again and talk to him longer, but can't find him, so she rushes to the arena and finds Sue competing with Hack in horseback riding, feeling upset that he left her to play with him. So the king tells her to calm down because they haven't seen each other for a long time. Then Yona decides to join Sue too, but the king gets very worried and refuses to let her touch weapons, so she answers angrily that he should join them instead. He becomes tense and says he might get hurt, and she gets very angry because her father is a cowardly king. Sue steps in because he sees her upset and tells her to come ride with him, so she happily goes down and rides with him on the horse. Asking curiously what he was doing all this time, Sue replies that there were talks about an engagement, but he hasn't decided anything yet, so the princess gets shocked and very upset, then decides to annoy him too and tells him many people came to propose to her. He asks who and she randomly says Hack, but the shock is he congratulates her and doesn't care at all. The princess goes back to the castle and sits upset about Sue's coldness. But suddenly the king enters and tells her maybe her marriage won't be a lie like she tried to do with Sue, and it's normal that she should be engaged now, but the princess refuses strongly and says she will marry no one but Sue. The king replies angrily that Sue is not her destiny. She stands before him and says she won't let him control her life. The king answers sadly that he gave her everything she wanted and bought her everything she needed, but no matter how much she begs, he won't give her Sue because she is the princess of Kuka, and the man she marries will be the next king. The princess replies sadly that Sue is her cousin and his blood is royal. He says that's true, but as a king it's his duty to choose someone worthy to inherit him. She asks quietly and sadly why, saying Sue is a good person and you are a cowardly king afraid to hold a sword. He answers that yes, he is a cowardly king and her mother was kidnapped and killed by rebels, but those are problems any king faces, and that's why he never married again, so if she wants Sue to live a good life, she shouldn't marry him. Yona spends her whole day depressed and shocked by her father's words, and also upset because she feels Sue sees her as just a child, and suddenly someone appears and tries to grab her, so she runs fast, remembering her father's words about the rebels who kidnapped her mother, until she finds a door and enters it. Then someone covers her mouth and she gets terrified, but it's Sue who reassures her he's with her, and goes out to check but finds no one. The next day the king holds a private banquet for the princess's birthday party. Yona stands welcoming the guests and then sees Sue, so she runs to him. The king tries to stop her but she ignores him. Yona goes out with Sue and he gives her a hairpin as a birthday gift. Suddenly Hack appears between them and tells Yona the king is looking for her. She leaves them and walks away, and Hack tells Sue he understands everything and knows he can convince the king to let him marry Yona if he wants. Sue replies he misunderstood. Hack asks if he doesn't feel something strange happening in the castle, like someone breaking in. Sue answers yes, Yona said something like that yesterday, so Hack runs quickly to investigate what's going on. At night, the princess is in her room thinking about her father's refusal of Sue, so she decides to go convince him but gets shocked that there are no guards around his room at all and the door is open. She enters and is horrified to see Sue's sword in the king's heart. The king's body falls to the floor before her eyes. She tells him to call a doctor quickly, but he replies it's over. He can't lie, I killed him. Yona is shocked and can't understand what he's saying or how he could do such a thing, because the king cared for him when he was a child like his own son. So he tells her, you don't know how long I waited for this day. It's true that I loved King Il, even though he was a coward afraid of war. But I thought that was because of his kindness, and it turned out I was wrong after I learned he killed my father, the brave man who led our armies and won many wars. It was strange he never became king though everyone wanted it. But that was my grandfather, the former king's choice, and everyone was shocked because the throne was supposed to go to the eldest son, and no one understood why he chose the weak younger one. Yet my father kept smiling, and one day he told me the throne means nothing to me. I'll keep fighting to protect my little brother and my people. I was very proud of him and respected him and wished one day I could stand beside him and fight, but all that ended because of your father. She replies saying impossible. My uncle died in an accident, so he tells her that's the official story told to everyone. But the truth is that King Il stabbed my father with a sword and killed him. So the king people thought feared weapons and avoided wars was actually a murderer. Yona is shocked and Sue tells her, I decided to be the king of Kuka and continue after my father. Yona feels confused and asks herself how could this be the same person who smiled at me and gave me a gift. He tells her honestly I didn't expect you to be awake now and see this scene. Why did you come here anyway? She answers with tears in her eyes, I came to tell my father I can never forget you. On the other side, Hak feels the place is too quiet and hears some soldiers saying no one noticed yet and all the guests and officials are asleep. That means only Commander Hak remains to cause trouble. He interrupts them and says you'll tell me the details right now, so they draw their swords and attack him. Kisok, one of Su's followers, enters the king's room and tells him everything is ready and notices that Su fulfilled his old wish, which was killing the king, but asks did the princess see you? He says yes, and Kisok orders the soldiers to kill her. Yona tries to escape quickly, but bumps into a candle that falls to the ground and sets the fabric on fire. Kisok orders the soldiers to put it out quickly, so no one notices what's happening. Yona takes the chance and runs outside fast, and Su orders the soldiers to catch her. Yona runs with tears in her eyes until they catch her and surround her with spears. Su arrives and she looks at him with deep sadness, because she thought he was the man she loved and who loved her and would marry her. One soldier raises his sword to cut off her head, but suddenly Hak appears and spins fast, creating a windstorm that blows the soldiers away. He looks at Su angrily and asks what's going on here. The princess calls his name, not believing someone is on her side in the whole castle. Hak reassures her saying the king ordered me to protect you, and whatever happens I'll obey his command. Kisok replies telling him step aside servant. You're standing now before the new king of Kuka. Hak asks in confusion who do you mean by king? I have a feeling something bad happened. Where is King Il? Su answers I killed him. Hak gets furious and strikes the ground breaking it, saying your joke isn't funny. Su replies seriously if you don't believe me ask the princess. Hak gets angrier and lunges at him, shouting you killed our kind king. Su orders Kisok not to interfere, because the man before him is the strongest in the kingdom, known as the Thunder Beast. Hak asks did you really draw your sword against our gentle king who hated weapons? Su replies this kingdom doesn't need a weak king like him. They clash fast and powerfully until Hak wounds his shoulder with the spear. Kisok stops the fight and Hak looks behind to find a soldier holding a sword to Yona's neck. So Hak throws his weapon and tells Su I thought I could trust you with the princess. Kisok mocks him saying people like you and the princess live in peace here in the castle and can never understand Su's feelings. Su silences him saying the person you knew isn't here anymore, and if anyone stands in my way I'll cut you down. Suddenly an arrow lands in front of the soldier holding Yona. Hak raises his spear and knocks away all the soldiers, taking the princess and running with her. Minso calls to him from a dark corridor, and Hak gives him the princess so he can fight the soldiers chasing them. They hide, because if they're caught they'll be killed. Minso tells Hak take the princess and get out of the castle and I'll distract them. Minso puts Yona's cloak over his head and says goodbye to them, then runs toward the soldiers, who think he's really the princess and chase him. Hak manages to get the princess out of the castle, but Minso gets hit by the soldiers' arrows. Su sends his soldiers to search for Yona and Hak. On the other side, Hak finds Yona exhausted and unable to keep running, so he decides to let her rest. Before sleeping, she tells him she feels guilty about Minso and fears Su might kill them. He reassures her that he won't be able to no matter what, thinking to himself I still can't believe the king died and left the princess like this. And Su turned out the complete opposite of what I thought. At sunrise, Kisok tells Su they found nothing outside the castle, and also says the people started noticing something strange happening and asking questions. At the same time, Yona wakes up and asks Hak with tears in her eyes, where will we go? I didn't even get to thank my father. How can I leave him behind like that? Hak comforts her saying we'll go anywhere safe for you to live, and for the king to rest in peace. Days pass while they are in the forest, until one day Yona sees a nightmare of her father standing before her and suddenly falling dead. So she wakes up terrified and feels that Su is around her and hears the sound of trees. But it turns out to be Hak who was bringing her water and wood. Yet Yona cries from the shock and the pain she feels. At sunset, Hak prepares food for her, but as usual she doesn't eat anything out of sadness, and Hak notices she is getting weaker and still unable to face the truth even after time has passed. So Hak asks himself in frustration, will she stay like this forever? She doesn't eat and just follows me silently, and I pull her like a doll, and he says I wonder are you satisfied, Su? You destroyed the days we spent together and destroyed the princess who cherished and loved you. Hak looks down and finds the hairpin Su gave her on her birthday, surprised that she still has something like that, and at night he tells Yona we'll rest here today and not move, then sees her searching for the hairpin, and asks is something missing. She says to herself I don't need it anymore, gets up and tells him I'll be back soon, then goes into the forest searching for the hairpin, and finds a snake before her attacking, and at the last moment Hak saves her. But he's shocked they are actually in a snake nest, so he takes her and runs quickly, and while running a snake bites his leg, yet he endures the pain and keeps running, telling her consider me a tool and use me so you can live. That's what I exist for. When they reach a safe place, Yona apologizes to him for what happened. He takes out the hairpin and asks, is this what you were looking for? She's startled and takes it from him, and he tells her I will never forgive Su, but more than that I want you to live. On the other side, the soldiers inform Su that they can't find Yona anywhere. He tells them fine, leave her. They ask will you let her live? He replies they won't be able to do anything anyway after leaving the castle. Besides, there's something we must do right now. At the same time, Yona asks Hak where will we go? He replies the kingdom's soldiers are everywhere, so there's no safe place except the capital Fuga, because it's my hometown, and when they arrive, everyone gathers around Hak welcoming him, because they haven't seen him for 3 years. He notices that the news of the castle hasn't reached the place yet, and when they ask about Yona he lies saying she's a trainee maid in the palace. They gather around her asking about her name, age, and the castle, and suddenly Yona faints and they notice she's very weak, so Hak orders them to prepare a bed and food for her immediately, and ask about the clan leader Mundok, who is also his grandfather that adopted him as a child. One of the guards replies he's in the castle in Hingdi. Hak is surprised and the guard continues, don't you know there's a meeting of the 5 tribes there? What's strange is those meetings are usually attended by younger commanders. I don't know why they summoned the old Mundok after he retired. Hak is also puzzled and feels something will happen. On the other side, the tribe leaders are gathered, all surprised that the king is dead, so the fire tribe leader Sujin says to Mundok what's strange too is that Hak and the princess are missing, and there's a rumor saying Hak killed the king and kidnapped the princess as a hostage. The water tribe leader Junji replies, let's not assume things, we don't know where Commander Hak is. Maybe something happened to him too. Su enters and tells them leave the matter of Hak and the princess to me. All you must do is report if you find them and no one should harm them. He also says leaking this information will cause chaos in the whole kingdom and the tribes will fight each other. We must do the opposite and cooperate to strengthen the kingdom so we don't need any other nation. Junji replies you're right. King El used to give away our lands to other countries to avoid conflicts. And Jiantai continues that's true, Kuka's influence collapsed and this isn't the time for a civil war. Sujin tells them then we need a king. Kisok replies with all respect. In the absence of Princess Yona, the only one with royal blood is Su who deserves to be crown prince. All the tribe leaders agree but Mundok gives no answer, saying I'm not the commander now, you should ask Hak for his response. Kisok replies if you refuse to recognize Su as king, people will suspect the Wind tribe is rebelling. Su says I can't be king without the approval of all 5 tribes. But no kingdom can continue without a king. Mundok looks at him and says if you want to marry Princess Yona and become official king I have no objection. But Hak would never leave the castle without a reason. Su replies after 3 days from now we'll hold the coronation ceremony and I know you'll come because of the people of the capital Fuga. Mundok tells him sadly unfortunately I used to think of you as my grandson like Hak and leaves. Later Sujin goes up to the roof with Su and asks don't you think you're being too lenient with them? If you don't hunt the princess and commander and kill them they'll spread the truth. Su replies Hak isn't a fool. He knows that if he spreads the truth and causes chaos Princess Yona will be in danger and Su asks Sujin to start preparing to prevent the Wind tribe's rebellion. On the other side, Yona wakes up surprised. She's in a bed, and Taeyeon Hak's younger brother enters bringing food. He prepared himself for her. When she eats it, she remembers her father who used to make her the same food, and Taeyeon introduces himself. Then suddenly Hak rushes in and covers her mouth, telling her your name is Rina and you're a maid in the palace. Hak's friends are with him, and Yona sees them laughing and joking, so she feels positive energy. The next day, Yona goes out walking in the tribe and meets Hak, who feels she's starting to return to normal. Suddenly, Yona notices the tribe's river has dried up and it's their only water source. Everyone becomes worried and Hak tries to calm the situation, telling them buy water from the merchants for now until Hingdi goes to check what's wrong. At the same moment, Mundok arrives at the tribe and when he sees the princess he's relieved she's safe. She tells him the tribe people took good care of her and they're all kind like him. Suddenly, Hingdi returns injured and in bad condition, yet he tries to smile and tells Mundok, when I went to the river I found the fire tribe blocked it, so I got angry and attacked them. But they were more in number and armed, so they beat me. The villagers become angry and Mundok stops them before they act, ordering them to treat Hingdi for now. He tells Hak this is a warning from the fire tribe because he refused to crown Su as king. Yona becomes frightened hearing that Su still insists on being king. Mundok reassures her he'll never agree because if he recognizes him as king it means he admits Hak killed Il. On the other side, Taejon, the fire tribe leader's son, asks about the Wind tribe's reaction. A soldier replies they haven't moved yet. He gets angry and tells them blocking the river isn't enough. Since merchants always visit the Wind tribe we gain nothing as long as they can easily buy water from them. Wipe them out before they reach the capital. The soldier replies but we can't act without Commander Sujin's knowledge. Taejon says, angrily we'll make it look like bandits did it. The soldier asks why are you so angry? He replies if I had gotten Princess Yona the throne would be mine now. At the same time, Yona is alone in her room thinking about Su. Taeyeon enters and cares for her, but suddenly he collapses on the floor, unable to breathe. Hak and Mundok rush in and tell her it's an attack he gets because his lungs are weak, and sometimes he stops breathing. He'll be fine if he takes his medicine. Hak replies, but the merchants who were supposed to bring the medicine haven't arrived yet. Suddenly a man from the tribe enters, telling them the merchants were attacked on the road. The people get angry again, wanting to fight the fire tribe, but Mundok still refuses because the royal family now supports them, and if a war breaks out the Wind tribe will suffer. Then Hingdi suddenly enters smiling saying, I'll go bring the medicine and come back. They're shocked because the distance is very far from the tribe, but he insists saying I'm the fastest rider in the tribe anyway. Hak proudly gives him permission, then turns to the villagers and says I understand your anger, but the fire tribe is strong and I won't let you start a war with them, but I promise I'll do something about it. At night, Yona stays beside Taeyeon and Hak tells her his condition is improving, and she must rest too so she doesn't collapse. She asks is there anything I can do to help? He replies don't worry about anything, comes closer to her treating her like a child, and tells her you can live here a simple and peaceful life. After that he goes to Mundok's room and asks him to approve Su's coronation as king, and tells him I'll leave this place. Mundok replies, are you thinking only about protecting the Wind tribe? Hak tells him if you agree the Fire tribe will stop bothering you. Mundok says then there might be a bounty on your head. Hak replies sarcastically that would be good. I'll become the greatest enemy of Kuka. Mundok asks will you leave the princess here? Hak says she finally smiled and I'm glad I brought her here, so I'll ask you a favor. Hide the princess from the castle and let her live her whole life as a member of the Wind tribe. Mundok refuses his request as a grandson but is forced to agree, because these are Hak's final orders as clan chief. At sunrise Hak goes to take some weapons, and Hingdi returns bringing the medicine for Taeyeon whose condition has improved. By coincidence Yona goes to the clinic where the injured merchants are, and is shocked by how far Su has gone just to become king. She feels very upset and tears up, so Hingdi tries to comfort her saying don't worry you'll be fine with Taeyeon and Mundok, because they care deeply for their family, and now you're part of the Wen tribe family. Yona cries from all the kindness she never felt before in her life. Yona runs searching for Hak and sees him saying goodbye to Taeyeon and leaving, so she goes to Taeyeon to thank him for his care. He starts crying because she and Hak are leaving. At the tribe's gate Hak meets Taiwu his friend and tells him from now on the tribe is in your hands and you'll be its next leader, asking him to take care of Yona. But suddenly Yona arrives saying I'm coming with you. You told me to use you as a tool to survive. He refuses and Yona insists, so he tells her I'm no longer the village leader or your servant and I'm not obligated to protect you. Yet she stands before him saying she's already decided, so he's forced to agree. At the same time one soldier informs Taejeon that they saw the princess and Hak heading toward the northern mountains. Taejeon becomes very eager and orders them to set up an ambush, while Hak thinks about Mundok's words about the advisor who lives in the Wind tribe's territory and can truly guide them on how to act regarding the kingdom and the other tribes. They climb the mountains to reach that advisor, but Hak notices the ambush set up, so he tells the princess stay close to me, and a large number of soldiers attack him at once. He grabs his spear and strikes with immense power and speed like thunder. Then Taejeon appears introducing himself to Hak and saying he's been waiting for this moment for a long time. Hak tells him I'm no longer the Wind tribe's commander and anything I do now has nothing to do with them. Taejeon replies I don't care, my target is the princess. Signaling his soldiers to shoot arrows, Hak breaks them quickly before they hit him, takes Yona and runs fast. Yona trips over an arrow and one soldier shoots at her. At the last moment Hak takes the arrow in his back instead. Yona panics and Hak pulls the arrow out saying it's just a scratch, then carries her and escapes while the soldiers chase him. Hak manages to reach a safe spot, where he sits Yona down before going out to finish off the soldiers. He fights and gets surrounded near the mountain's edge. Yona hears Taejeon angrily saying to one soldier you shot a poisoned arrow at the princess. The soldier replies I knew Hak would protect her and get hit instead. Yona comes out and knocks down the soldier aiming his bow at Hak. Taejeon becomes very nervous seeing her, saying I came to take you because Su will become king tomorrow and surely you're upset the old king died and you were cast out of the castle. He offers her to go with him and be his wife so Su won't become king, but she speaks to him with intense anger about what he did to the Wind tribe and the merchants who were coming. He becomes more nervous realizing the one speaking isn't the gentle princess he used to know from childhood. Hak gets very angry at Yona and yells at her for leaving her place and coming, then starts killing the soldiers quickly to reach her, but they are too many and keep coming. One of the fire soldiers manages to hit him with a sword, and the others surround him. Hak stands up and blows them all away, running fast to reach Yona, but falls to the ground from the effect of the poison in the arrow that hit him. Still he gets up and defends himself with difficulty as the soldiers trap him at the cliff's edge. One of them strikes his chest with a sword and Hak falls hanging on the ledge. Taejeon gets very excited and tells them to kill him. Yona stands shocked at what she sees and runs toward him in fear to save him. But suddenly Taejeon grabs her by the hair so she looks at his side and sees his sword. She pulls it out, cuts her hair quickly, and runs, going to the soldiers surrounding Hak and telling them to stay away from him. They are shocked by what she's doing and one of them tries to kill her from behind. Taejeon yells at them no one should harm her ever. Yona sticks the sword in the ground and tries to pull Hak up but can't. He tells her to run away fast. Her tears fall on his face as she tells him if you die I won't forgive you. The fire soldiers rush toward her to stop her from helping him. Yona panics, slips, and falls with Hak from a very high place. Taejeon is shocked and the soldiers try to calm him as he wants to go after them. He angrily orders them to search for her. They tell him no one could survive a fall like that. He goes into a hysterical state and falls to his knees holding her cut hair in his hand. At night Taejeon goes to meet Su, gives him Yona's hair, and tells him she's dead. Su is shocked and Kisok angrily says I told you to report when you found her only. And in the end, you killed her? That's treason? Taejeon replies you're right, begging Su to punish him. Su tells him stay here tonight and tomorrow attend the coronation ceremony. Taejeon is surprised by his reaction and begs him to punish him, but Su leaves him and walks away. At sunrise a man named Yoon walks through the forest and finds Hak and Yona unconscious by the riverbank. On the other side the coronation ceremony begins with Su standing before the castle gates. He remembers when Yona used to call him to have lunch with them, and Hak hit him on the head with a stick to stay alert for battle at any moment. Su said I'm jealous of Yona for having such a strong servant like you. Hak replied then marry Yona, become king, and I'll be the guard for both of you. At that moment Su got nervous and said it's impossible to marry her. Hak said either way you're the only one fit to be king, and if that happens I'll be your right arm standing beside you until death. Su rested his head on his shoulder and said that's a wonderful dream, but please protect Yona, thinking to himself when I become King Yona and Hak won't be by my side, because he had already planned to kill King Il long ago. Su walks before all the tribes, climbs the stairs, and they place the crown on his head. Each clan leader blesses him and declares loyalty. Su thinks to himself, the fire tribe claims to support me, but I know their eyes are on the throne. The earth tribe submits to anyone strong. The water tribe waits to see how things turn out, while the wind tribe stayed calm when we pressured them, but they have many strong warriors trained by Mundok himself, and no one knows when they'll hear of Hak's death and bare their fangs. But aside from all that, I must unite all these divided tribes. Mundok kneels before him saying, as you know, there's no advisor in the castle now, and I'm waiting to see the achievements that will compensate for all those who died. Kisok gets angry, but before he can speak, Su interrupts saying, you're right, Mundok. I want you to watch me. I'll make Koka a great kingdom like it once was. And if anyone stands in my way, no matter who, I'll crush them. Everyone cheers for him, but Mundok focuses only on the look in his eyes, remembering his smile and gentle expression when he was young, feeling sorrow for him. At the same time, Yona wakes up and sees Yun before her. He asks, who are you? Yona remembers falling from the cliff and asks about Hak. He points to the other bed, saying his condition is very serious. He protected you when you fell and took all the damage himself. Suddenly, a strange, messy man enters. Yun yells at him for his appearance. Then the stranger approaches Yona and says, I'm glad you're alive. My name is Su. Yona wonders if she should say her real name in front of them or not, but suddenly Su starts crying and says, it must have been hard for you, princess. Yona is shocked and asks, how did you recognize me? The advisor replies, an advisor must know everything. Yun gets upset that he admitted so easily and tells him, what's the point of living in hiding if you don't even know how to lie? Yona asks him, are you really the advisor? He replies, yes, my job is to guide people to the right path. Yun answers angrily, what do you mean by job? You don't get paid for what you do, and you spend all day studying and observing. Besides, you were expelled from the castle because of your ideas. After a while, Hak moves his finger and breathes with difficulty. Yun rushes to him and finds he has a fever. He prepares medicine for him, but his temperature doesn't go down. Yona begs him to do something and heal him. He says, I'm working on it because I don't want him to die in front of me. And I'm not even a doctor, so don't expect me to save him. And don't forget, you never thanked me for saving you anyway. And I'm sure you never once thanked the injured person who protected you. Su comes closer to him and whispers, you should be kinder to her. He replies, but I hate kings and nobles. Su tells him she's different and fights in her own way. Then Su offers Yona to go out for a walk with him, assuring her that not once did Yun ever fail at a treatment. They go out, and at night Yona returns to thank Yun for saving her, asking him to explain what happened in the castle, because she doesn't want to stay ignorant. He tells her in the past advisors had more power than kings. They shared in ruling and had influence in wars. Once some advisors removed a king claiming he was unfit, so the idea of advisors became a problem for the king. During your grandfather Jonam's reign, the kingdom of Kuka was expanding and growing stronger. Your uncle Yuhan's achievements had great impact in that period. The advisors were threatening the king's influence. That's why your uncle expelled them from the castle completely. Yona thanks him and tells him, teach me more another time. At sunrise, Yona wakes up and is surprised Hak isn't in his bed. She rushes out worried, looking for him, shouting loudly and calling until Hak appears behind her. She tells him angrily, if you're going out, wake me and tell me. She cries, telling him you're injured and acting recklessly. I thought you were going to die. Hak is surprised that she's truly afraid for him. The next day they wake up and don't find Su in the house. Yona goes out searching for him and finds him sitting crying. She asks what's wrong. He says, I saw a dream about you, and I knew your life will be a storm that shakes the whole kingdom. Yun and Hak enter, and Su asks Yona, do you know the legend of the kingdom's origin? She replies, yes. The red dragon ruler turned into a human. He was the first king of Kuka and called himself Hiryu. But unfortunately he had to fight humans because they forgot he was the ruler, and his dignity faded when they saw him in human form. Greed for power and control grew, so they imprisoned him. When things got worse, 4 dragons appeared for Hiryu and told him, we'll destroy the humans who forgot you are the ruler. Yet Hiryu refused because he loved humans despite what they did to him. The dragons respected his wish, and to protect him they gave their blood to human warriors to grant them their powers. One gained sharp claws, another had eyes that could see from very far away, the third could leap to the sky, and the last had a body that no one could ever wound. The dragons ordered them to protect Hiryu, love him, and never betray him. The warriors led their tribes, protected Hiryu, and maintained order in the kingdom. After some time, Hiryu grew tired of fighting and fell into slumber. Thus the mission of the 4 warriors ended, and they suddenly vanished from their tribes. Yona asks him, what does all this have to do with me? Su replies, you said you want to live, but you won't be able to do that alone. Hak protects you, but in his condition he'll die, so you need allies. He tells her you must search for the 4 dragon warriors. Yona is surprised and asks they're still alive. He answers yes, and they will support you. At night, Yona meets Hak and tells him she wants to search for the 4 warriors and become stronger. She asks him to teach her how to use the sword and bow so she can protect herself and not die. Su appears and asks her, have you made your decision? She answers yes. He says, I want to ask you for a favor. Take Yun with you. The next day, Yona sits with Yun and learns that he's a genius who can memorize books after reading them once, and he wishes to read many books. But unfortunately, he only has one book about medicine which Su found and gave him, and Yun studied it because Su often gets hurt or sick and needs someone to treat him. Yona goes to Su and he asks her, what did Yun say? She tells him, you're so much like my father, a whiny, clumsy man who can't be relied on and whose mind is always lost. But you're kind and Yun loves you very much, and I don't want to separate a family from each other. At the same time, Yun is standing at the door hearing her say, I can't take Yun with me on our journey if he doesn't want to go. Su tells her, you're right, I'm sorry. Su goes out and Yoon looks at him angrily, grabbing him and pushing him against the wall, asking what did she mean by what she said. Su replies, I want you to leave this place and help the princess. Yoon gets angrier and Su continues, you shouldn't stay here for the rest of your life. Go explore the world. Yoon lets him go and sits alone feeling very upset holding the medicine book, and raises his hand to throw it into the fire. But he remembers 7 years ago when he lived in a very poor village alone and hungry, he always beat people and stole their food or gold. At that time Su passed by him, so he threw a rock and knocked him down, then started searching him. Su said, sorry, I don't have anything for you to take. Yoon got scared when he saw him still conscious and grabbed a stick, hitting him on the head. When Su woke up later, he found Yin in front of him holding an axe. Yoon spoke nervously saying everyone in the village said there's a stranger walking with gold. Hand it over. Su cried and apologized because he had given the gold to another child he met earlier, and promised him that if he ever got anything he would come and give it to him. Su's head began bleeding from the hit and Yin panicked. Shu told him don't worry, I'm fine, and stood up to leave, but couldn't keep his balance. Yoon ran to catch him before he fell, saying you'll stay with me until I get the gold. Su was happy with the idea because he wanted to camp outside anyway. At night Yoon's guilt made him bring ointment and apply it to the wound on his head, not knowing Su was awake. The next day Yoon was surprised when Su brought him sweet potatoes. He was so happy because he hadn't eaten them in a long time, but noticed the slippers Su was wearing were gone. Su said he traded them for the potatoes. Yoon felt guilty and asked, why are you doing this for me? Su replied, it's thanks for the ointment you put on my head wound. Yoon was embarrassed because he thought he was asleep then. Then Yoon asked, what will you do now? Su took some straw and said, I'll make new slippers. He taught him the method, and Yoon managed to make better slippers than the one Su made. The next day Su left him, and Yoon thought about how much fun he had with him, and how happy he was to learn from him. Days passed and Yoon kept making slippers and trading them for food. One day Su returned and apologized to Yin because he brought gold for him, but it was stolen on the way. He said he was going to a far place to live among people and came only to see him before leaving. Yoon grabbed him saying, I want to go with you. Returning to the present, Su comes to Yin and gives him a new slipper he made. Yoon jokes with him for still not knowing how to make them properly. Then notices Su's slippers are broken too, so he goes to get straw to make 2 pairs. Su becomes very happy. Afterward Yoon tells him, your words are orders to me, so if you command me to go with them I'll go. The next day they say goodbye to Su and set off on their journey. At the same time, Kisok enters Su's room and tells him that as he expected he found a secret account for taxes paid illegally, meaning there's corruption in the kingdom. Su replies King Il was kind, and kindness isn't a crime, but sometimes it makes those around you greedy and weak before their desires. Kisok looks at the table and finds a book that King Il had forbidden anyone to read. Su tells him the book tells the legend of the 4 dragons, but it's just myths. No dragons can return Kuka to the right path. On the other side, Hak and the others begin their journey, and Yona discovers many things she never knew because she had never left the castle before. On the way, Hak tells them stay alert because we don't know if the Fire Tribe soldiers are watching us or not. Yona stops and says I have to learn sword fighting so I can defend myself. Hak asks, can you kill someone? She's startled and he continues, when you fight enemies they won't just run away. You must kill them or disable them. She replies, even if I can't kill someone I at least want to create a chance to escape. Hak agrees to teach her, but not with a sword. He gives her a bow and arrows so he can fight in front while she shoots from afar. Yona tries to shoot at a bird but misses. Hak comes to guide her and teach her how to hold the bow and arrow properly. Yona trains along the road trying again and again, and all night she doesn't sleep to practice. At sunrise Yoon tells her you're improving, but you can't lack the intention to kill because in real battles no one will show you mercy. We the weak must learn deadly techniques and strike the enemy's weak points to survive. In the morning they move on and Yona sees an animal deciding to hunt it. She aims but feels it's too cute and forces herself to shoot. She only wounds it instead of killing it and feels terrible for hurting it. Hak tells her that happened because you hesitated. He asks Yoon to go ahead so he can talk to her alone. She shoots at a tree hitting it and he praises her. Suddenly he asks her to shoot at him. She's shocked and says impossible. He reassures her that he'll dodge it easily. She keeps shooting at him, and he dodges all of them, catches the last arrow with his hand and breaks it, saying you still lack the intent to kill. She replies nervously, of course, I don't have that intent. He tells her imagine I'm Sue and shoot. She shoots with all her strength instinctively and grazes his face. She starts crying telling him I hate how you act, but I'm determined to use a weapon to protect you. Hak replies don't say you'll protect me. It's my duty to protect you and I told you to think of me as a tool, and there's no need to worry about a tool. They continue their path searching for Yun, but the forest becomes filled with fog. Suddenly Yona finds Yun's bag and belongings on the ground. She calls out for Yun but they hear voices of soldiers threatening them to leave the forest. Hak grabs his spear and with one swing in the air blows away all the fog, finding many archers around who get nervous at his strength. He asks them, are you from the dragon village? One replies, since you know our tribe, that's an even bigger reason for me to eliminate you. But another archer notices Yona's red hair and they all lower their bows. Their leader asks her, where did you come from? She replies, from the land of the wind. The advisor told me to search for the 4 dragon warriors. He tells her we are the guards of the white dragon and will take you to him. On the other side, Yoon is in a cage and angrily tells the tribe people be quiet, and suddenly he sees Yona and Hak taking a tour in the village, so he becomes angrier. The guard captain apologizes to Yona and orders the guards to bring Yoon out. The guard hesitates, and the captain tells him our guest's hair is red. Yoon comes out quickly, surprised like Hak about this red hair matter. Afterwards, the guard captain explains to Yona the reason for this extreme protection, telling them since the white dragon finished his duty in war, he lived in this place. And our duty is to protect him and eliminate any greedy people who come to take his power. Hak replies, I respect your position, but why do people admire Yona's red hair so much? They answer, because the original white dragon served the red dragon, who when he turned human had red hair too. Yona tells them I've lived my whole life hating this red hair of mine. He replies spontaneously, don't say that. Since the advisor sent you here, you might be the person we have been waiting for years. Yoon asks what made the white dragon a special person. Doesn't every villager run white dragon blood in their veins? They answer yes, but only one villager was born by the white dragon's hand. At the same time the person they speak of wakes from sleep feeling something strange in his dragon hand. His grandmother enters worried about his hand. He tells her don't worry, it's nothing. Feeling despair, he asks when should I use this power or for what? She replies when the time comes you will use it for a certain person. But maybe the era we live in doesn't need your power, so you must pass it on. Yet I'm sure the coming dragon or the next will use their power to protect their kings. If you don't, the white dragon feels he must meet the person who is meant to protect him. Suddenly he hears noise in the village and asks what is it. She tells him some strange people entered the place. Surprised why the guards didn't kill them, he goes out to kill them himself. At the same time Yona is talking with Hak. Suddenly the white dragon appears calling her, and as soon as he sees her red hair he's shocked. His dragon hand responds and he feels pain. He hears the dragon's voices in his mind saying you are our other half and Hiryu is your king. Protect him and love him and never betray him. He realizes she is the person he waited for his whole life and loses consciousness. He dreams of his father telling him another king will appear and ask for your power, and your blood will know him as the right one. Then you must begin your journey with him and leave the village. The white dragon wakes and bows to Yona, saying I waited for you a long time my lady. Yona is startled and doesn't understand what is happening. Looking around she finds the whole village bowing to her. The guard captain blesses the white dragon for finding his king at last. Yona is surprised they see her as King Hiryu because of her red hair. She tells the white dragon I'm not your king or lady. I'm one of the greedy ones searching for power to protect myself and my friends. I will travel to meet the other 3 dragons. I came to ask you to give me your power first. He replies it is a great honor for me. Whoever you are and whatever your goal I have become your dragon. That is what my blood tells me. After that Yoon asks Yana why did you call yourself greedy? She replies because she doesn't want to lie to him, while the white dragon in his room feels his dragon hand and body still very warm since he saw Yona and his blood began to boil. At night they hold a celebration for this awaited occasion, and the next day the whole village stands to send the white dragon off feeling sorrow, promising to protect the village in his absence. His grandmother comes and cries before him because she will miss him deeply. She says I don't know how I'll wake you every day. He reassures her and says I want you to live a peaceful life. She replies I'll wait for you to finish your duty and come and I will be the first to welcome you. They begin their journey but stand in the forest unsure how to go. The white dragon tells Yona I can sense the other dragons because there is a bond between us like siblings, and our blood calls each other no matter the distance. Yona is joyful and remembers to ask him what his name is. The white dragon is surprised because he thought no one would call him by name after his father. He replies my name is Kiga. They continue their way but don't know directions well. Kiga tries to sense the nearest dragon and finds it is the blue dragon, pointing them to the area though not precisely where. Suddenly Kiga and Hak sense a number of people approaching. Hak thinks they might be from the fire tribe. Kiga asks are the fire tribe our enemies? Hak replies yes. It turns out they are just a group of bandits. One of them mocks Kiga and grabs his hand, but is surprised it's very hot and it burns him. Suddenly the dragon hand grows and claws extend, cutting them down one after another. Hak notices he is truly powerful contrary to his fragile appearance. Kiga arrogantly tells him should I protect you as the princess asked me to. He grabs Hak's spear and runs at the bandits with insane speed dispatching them. Kiga admits Hak is very strong and might be equal to the dragon power he holds. Yona and Yoon are hiding. Yoon asks does she want to be useful. She replies Hak ordered her not to use the bow so she held back. He tells her you are training for this moment. He guides her how to aim and she shoots at a bandit making his weapon fly and he flees. But suddenly one sneaks behind her and takes her hostage. At that moment Kiga and Hak finish him. Suddenly Kiga falls to his knees feeling great pain in his hand, saying don't worry this is because I used dragon power too much. Hak praises him saying I'm excited I finally found someone who matches me. At the same moment Hak also collapses. Yoon sees that the wound in his chest reopened. Kiga is surprised Hak moved with such speed and strength while injured. They carry him until they find a place to sleep. At night Yoon asks Kiga do you sense the blue dragon? He points to the direction he senses it. Yoon asks does the blue dragon have a village like yours or live alone? He replies not sure but according to my colleagues gathered information, the blue dragon tribe lived in a secret place in the earth tribe lands. Yet the blue dragon village disappeared suddenly with no trace. But when I close my eyes I feel the blue dragon's pulse. Narrowing the search to 6 places they decide to try them tomorrow. The next day they go to the first place and Kiga senses nothing, the next place neither. After much walking they find nothing. At sunset he points them to a different direction sensing the blue dragon there. At night Kiga looks at them sleeping not understanding how they managed it, feeling great guilt because Yona tired from walking and he couldn't find the blue dragon's location quickly. When the sun rises, Kiga wakes to the sound of Yona shooting arrows at the tree while training. Before he speaks, Hack hushes him so he won't break her focus, and tells him what happened to her in the castle, and he understands she wants to be stronger. He feels like her and wants to help and be useful to her. At noon, Yun studies the map carefully and can identify the blue dragon's location, pointing them to the mountains. When they arrive, they find a huge castle almost invisible, and Yun tells them Iki. Su once told him about a group that hid from the war in this place. Yona asks Kiga, can you feel it? He replies yes, and I'm sure he's inside. They enter and are suddenly surrounded by masked people. Their leader approaches and asks, who are you? Kiga yells at them, bring the blue dragon here. The villagers look at each other, and the leader tells him there's no one by that name living here. Kiga replies that's not his name. He's someone with the blood of the dragon in his veins. There's no need to hide him. Tell him this girl is waiting for him. The leader insists he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Before things get worse, Yona wisely speaks, telling him we've traveled a long distance and have nowhere to stay tonight. May we stay here for the night? The leader accepts normally. He takes them to the place where they will sleep, and on the way Yona asks about the masks everyone wears. He replies it's tradition. No stranger is allowed to see our faces. When they arrive, he warns them the place is like a maze, so don't wander. And he tells her with a terrifying look, I won't take responsibility for anyone who gets hurt. They sit down. Yin says this is definitely the Blue Dragon village. When we were at the White Dragons, all the villagers were fascinated by Yona's red hair. But these people didn't react at all. Keiga stands up saying I can feel the Blue Dragon's presence here, I'm certain. Yin says fine, we have to move and explore. I'll draw a map along the way so we don't get lost. They begin exploring and find a dead end. Yona thinks maybe the blue dragon sensed the white dragon but doesn't want to come out. Keiga replies spontaneously, we can't give up either. The blue dragon like me comes from a long line and must be waiting for you. Yona feels encouraged and they continue. Suddenly Yin feels uneasy, like many eyes are on them though nothing appears. Hack and Keiga agree something strange is happening. They decide to return to their room, but Yona hears a strange sound and follows it. Touching one of the walls, it opens a secret door and she enters, meeting a masked person who tells her you must be lost. Come, I'll take you back. She walks with him but notices Hack and the others didn't come this way and something feels wrong. Suddenly he looks at her with a terrifying gaze. She tries to run but he grabs her. Right then bells ring and another masked person grabs her away. The kidnapper gets scared of him and runs. The person who saved her takes her away. She tries to talk but he doesn't answer. Strangely, she doesn't feel afraid of him at all. Meanwhile, the others notice Yona is missing and panic, returning quickly. Keiga senses a strange presence and Yona appears before them. They yell her name and the person who saved her stands far away. Keiga looks at him in shock and he runs away. When they ask what's wrong, he tells them that person is the blue dragon. We go back in time 18 years. A villager enters the leader's house, telling him a child was born with the dragon's eyes. The leader asks what did the mother do? He replies she killed herself and the previous blue dragon will raise him. They put a mask on the baby's face before his power awakens. 4 years later, the blue dragon goes to the children holding one of their toys, asking nervously, can I play with you? But they are terrified and run away. Behind him appears the former blue dragon named U, who grabs him harshly and they walk through the people who stare at them with disgust. Inside the house, U angrily tells him I told you not to leave. The blue dragon apologizes saying I just wanted friends. U gets furious, grabbing him saying you think you can have friends? That's impossible, so stay inside. The blue dragon asks why do people run away from us? Is my power bad? U replies because there's a rumor that anyone who looks into the blue dragon's eyes turns to stone. But the truth is whoever looks in your eyes has their nerves and heart paralyzed. Either way, it's a terrifying power. Tears fall from his eyes and Uo yells at him not to cry, angry at the stupid rumors spreading through the village about blue dragons every generation. At sunset, the blue dragon looks out the window telling U there's a group of bandits far away staring at us. U gets angry and walks toward the door, but falls because his sight weakens more every day, while the blue dragon's vision grows as if he's drawing U's sight into himself. Meanwhile, the bandits sit around a fire eating, planning how to capture the blue dragon and sell him for much money. Suddenly Uo and the blue dragon appear. U draws his sword and begins killing them quickly. The blue dragon is amazed by U's strength, even though he's nearly blind. After finishing, U asks, did you watch me while I used the sword? He replies yes. U says learn swordsmanship as fast as possible. The blue dragon asks why do you use a sword instead of the dragon power? U grabs him angrily saying never use those eyes on anyone. I'll teach you to control them, but using them is strictly forbidden because if you do the curse will turn on you. If you paralyze your enemies you'll be paralyzed too. And if that doesn't happen people will hate you and greedy ones will come every day seeking your power. He asks then if I protect the village with the sword, instead of my eyes will I have friends? U replies of course not and leaves, but extends his hand so they can walk together. As days pass U's power and sight weaken. One day more bandits attack and Uo kills one, but another is about to strike him. The blue dragon throws his sword before he can hit Uo. A bag of gold falls from the enemy. The blue dragon bends to pick it up. Uo stands before him angrily saying leave. The enemy terrified runs away. Then the blue dragon rushes to check on Uu and finds him smiling saying I can't see anymore, laughing hysterically and happy, because he's near death and finally free from the curse. At that moment the blue dragon finds the bells on the ground, takes them and ties them to his mask. Uo realizes he did that so he could hear him and know his place since he's fully blind now. Suddenly U starts crying apologizing for leaving him alone. When U dies everyone in the village is both happy and afraid because his full power transfers to the current blue dragon, who sits in his room crying bitterly missing Uo. Suddenly he senses many soldiers coming and sees them from afar, terrified because he he knows he can't handle that many alone. He remembers Uo forbidding him from using his eyes so no one fears his power further, but he uses them anyway because there's no other choice, and kills all the soldiers. At the same time, the blue dragon walks through a corridor in great pain, remembering that when he touched Yona's hand, he heard the voices of the dragons in his head like what happened to the white dragon, wondering why when he saw Kiga he instantly knew he was the white dragon, feeling his blood boiling like the white dragons when he saw Yona, trying to endure it and not let anyone know his strength. Meanwhile, Yona tells the others what happened to her. Yoon connects all the strange things happening there and concludes that this village is completely different from the white dragons, that they probably consider the dragon's power something bad unlike the white dragon's village, saying surely they see us and the blue dragon as intruders. Yona replies but he was a kind person and I want to meet him again and talk to him. They all move except Hak, who stays to watch the villagers who are already watching them. When Yona and the others reach the secret door and open it, Kiga senses someone watching them, saying the blue dragon is really inside. Go ahead, I'll follow. Suddenly some villagers appear before Kiga, telling him we won't allow anyone who entered this path to leave. Kiga angrily replies, I won't forgive you who forgot the greatness and power of the red dragon. At the same time, the blue dragon feels the white dragon. Sensing someone approaching, he grabs his sword ready. When Yona appears before him, his heart pounds and he draws his sword but can't move. Yona sees his squirrel and asks what's its name. He replies ooh. She says it doesn't suit him at all. He feels she's right. Yona introduces herself and asks his name. He says I'm the blue dragon. She replies no, I want your real name. He says I don't have one, that's just the blue dragon. Yona steps closer and he raises his sword to her face in fear, asking why did you enter this village? Why are you coming near me? Why is the white dragon here? Yona replies I came here to see you and I want you to give me your power and come with me. The blue dragon is surprised by the feeling inside telling him he's been waiting to meet her for a long time, his heart beating fast because no one ever wanted his power before. He grabs her tightly saying the people who want the blue dragon's power are enemies, but then he hears the dragon's voices again, his hand trembles and he feels like crying. He lowers the sword and releases Yona. She tells him I'm not your enemy. I'm searching for the 4 dragons so I can live with my friends. I want you to be our friend. He's shocked and says I'm cursed. The outside world must never know my destructive power. Leave this place. Yona turns her back walking toward the door, saying let me tell you one last thing. Your hands were warm. I don't know anything about your curse, but if these are the hands of a cursed man then I don't care even if you had the worst curse. She leaves and he feels his heart tearing apart. Yona walks away feeling deep despair, asking Yoon that dark room he stays in. Is it empty? Does he even eat well? They find Kiga standing before the villagers shouting at him. Yona asks what's going on and he tells her they want to kill us, so we won't tell about the blue dragon's existence. Yona asks why do you want to hide him? Kiga says Yoon was right. Here they think the dragon's power is a curse. One of them angrily rushes at him and Kiga punches him, breaking his mask. Suddenly an earthquake shakes the place. Yona panics, calling for Hak. He quickly moves but the falling rocks block the path. Hak panics for Yona and starts lifting stones with his hands until they bleed, yet the way is still closed, blaming himself for letting her go. Meanwhile, Yona feels fear though she wanted to rely on herself and ended up searching for Hak. She wakes to Kega's voice calling her, finding Yoon terrified because oxygen is running out in the narrow space. The villagers panic too. Kega spreads his claws to break the rocks. The villagers become more terrified, saying, so there really are other dragons with cursed power, blaming the blue dragon for what's happening. Yona angrily asks why do you call the dragon's power cursed? They reply, don't you know how evil he is? Since he was born, children, monsters with dragon eyes appeared and we've lived in fear of their power. Even if one dragon dies, another is born. You don't know the terror that your own child could be the next dragon. Those who bear this curse can never leave the village, so we put masks on their faces from birth. That's our rule. But the current blue dragon used his power and killed many soldiers while still a child. We feared more soldiers would come, so we came to live here. Suddenly the blue dragon enters, slowly walking toward the rocks, blocking the way. One villager thinks he came to kill him for what he said and punches him in the face, breaking his mask. Everyone panics, saying whoever looks in will turn to stone. He's surely here to kill us? Yona replies, no, the blue dragon saved me and would never kill anyone without reason. The blue dragon closes his eyes and puts the mask back on. Suddenly he grabs an axe and approaches Kiga, striking beside him. Kiga angrily says, if you came to help then say it, and asks why are you digging here? The blue dragon replies, because this will lead us outside faster and digging is easier. Kiga tells the others let's help him. They take villagers' tools and start digging with the blue dragon. Meanwhile, Hak is still digging outside, finding villagers standing behind him. He angrily asks, what do you want? One woman replies, my son is inside. Hak answers angrily, my friends are inside, and they were searching for the blue dragon. I think it's time you tell the full truth. One villager whispers to the tribe leader. Hak raises his weapon, threatening them. At the same time, Yona loses consciousness from lack of air. Kega tells the blue dragon, take her to your room. He carries her down, gently covering her carefully. Tears fill her eyes seeing how kind he is and how no one understands him, and how hard his life has been. She tells him, I hate seeing you alone, and cries, then gathers her strength again, telling him what happened to her in the castle, and everything she learned on her journey, promising to remove the darkness he lives in, and take him to a place where he can be himself. She leaves running outside. They return to digging until suddenly Hak manages to break the rocks. Rushing inside to check on Yona quickly, taking them out, Yona asks how did you break those rocks? He says I interrogated the villagers and used their families trapped inside to learn their secret and how to free you. Yona runs to the blue dragon asking him again to come with them. He doesn't know what to say. She continues there's no need to close your eyes when you're with me. I know your power doesn't kill anyone randomly. The blue dragon holds her hand deciding to trust her. They continue their way and suddenly Keiga grows weak from the effort he made. The blue dragon rushes to the nearest sea jumping in to catch a fish for him to eat and regain strength. They light a fire and Yin cooks for them. Yona notices the blue dragon feels cold and offers him her cloak. He says thank you Yona. They all are shocked he called her by name so casually instead of saying princess. She tells him I also want to call you by your name, starting to think of one. All night she keeps thinking and asks Yoon for his opinion. He gives her ideas, then she goes to wash her face at the river. Sensing Hak watching her she tells him come out, trying to assure him she'll be fine and he doesn't need to worry so much. They walk together and she asks him about a name for the blue dragon and he also gives ideas. Meanwhile the blue dragon stands in a field of grass picking some to keep. He looks at the moon finding it so beautiful he keeps staring. Yona and Hak enter and see him gazing at the moon. She combines Yoon's and Hak's ideas with the scene she saw and tells him I'll name you Shin, which means light of the moon. The blue dragon loves the name very much and sleeps feeling deeply grateful she gave him one. The next day Keiga wakes up and suddenly says I can feel the green dragon. Yoon looks at the map and finds there's a place they must pass near the castle. He tells them we'll take the mountain route and confirm its location on the way. Shina climbs one of the trees and confirms with his dragon eyes that there are no enemies ahead. They all praise him for his amazing and useful ability. And Keiga is very excited and happy that another dragon warrior is with him. So he walks beside him telling the legend of the dragons and the founding of the kingdom of Kuka. While traveling they enter a very poor village that looks almost abandoned. Yin says the village reached this state because the king and the leaders neglected it. Yona is surprised but stays silent. Yoon continues this area has been like this for many years. The men here were taken to train as soldiers. They got sick and those who couldn't walk died. He tells them the village he was born in was like this because it was under the fire tribe's control and the commander Su, Jin spent all the money on the army. They find a man coughing. Yun stops Yona from getting close so she won't catch the illness. He goes himself giving the man medicine, water, and food. Yona ignores the warning and helps the man sit against the wall giving him water herself. The man asks are you from the city of Seika? Yun replies no we're just travelers. The man relaxes and says I heard there's a new king on the throne. I hope he's better than King Il who abandoned us and couldn't endure the pressure of other kingdoms, focusing only on avoiding trouble. He's the reason the 5 tribes split and the kingdom fell into chaos, and he didn't even save weak people like us. Yana is shocked and tries to hold herself together in front of him. They leave and move on. On the way Yona tells them I'll go to the bathroom, but they suspect she won't, so Shina sends his squirrel after her. They all wait talking about King Il, saying he wasn't a beloved king and no one mourned his death, and that no one will care about his daughter. Hak replies the truth is a world without war or weapons is a foolish dream. But I never thought King Il was a fool for his firm belief that this world was good. He always hid his wounds in sorrow, so I never considered him a coward, and I regret that I couldn't protect him. Yona sits crying while hearing them talk, and at night she can't sleep. She gets up to practice shooting arrows, but remembers her father and breaks down crying. After days of walking they arrive at the port city, and are amazed by its beauty and the beauty of the ocean. Yona asks Keiga is the green dragon here. He tells her he's moving so fast it's making me dizzy. Yoon tells them, let's take a day off, and buy some things before searching for the green dragon. They all get excited but Yoon stops them saying he can't take them all especially Shina, because of his strange mask. Yona tells Hak I want to come too. He looks at her surprised saying there are dark circles under your eyes and your hands are full of cuts. You're pushing yourself too much and need some rest. Yoon tells him you also be careful on your way and don't cause trouble. Hak tells them to protect Yona and leaves. When he reaches the village he feels something strange in people's eyes as if they're dead, but he decides to ignore it and do what he came for then return quickly. Suddenly he hears a woman screaming because 2 officers are abusing their rank to do whatever they want. Hak gets angry and kicks one of them. At the same time a strange man beside him kicks the other officer. One of the officers grabs a dagger and runs toward them. Hak knocks the weapon from his hand while the other man kicks him hard. The officer calls for backup so Hak and the man take the woman and run, entering one of the alleys, and when an officer follows Hak hits him with his elbow. They keep running and the man asks are you a soldier? You look really strong. Hak replies no I'm just a traveler. You're strong too. The man strangely enjoys the compliment. They finally escape the officers. The man feels something strange and excuses himself to leave. Hak tries to stop him to ask who he is, but in an instant he disappears. The strange man jumps across the rooftops and suddenly lands on a ship in the sea, where an old woman greets him angrily, telling him can't you return in a quieter way Jaya. He replies it was a great landing Captain Jigan. She tells him still doing childish stunts. You're the one who doesn't want attention. He replies this time I was in a hurry. She asks were the officers chasing you. He says yes and I also sense someone much more dangerous. I think the white and blue dragons are in the city now. At night Hak returns to the others. Yoon scolds him for not buying anything after all that time. Hak excuses himself saying he didn't find the right shop. Yoon decides they'll all go to the city tomorrow. Hak thinks to himself I better not mention I hit the officers. Keiga stands beside Shina and asks can you feel it too? He replies yes. The green dragon is near the ocean. At the same time Jaeha sits playing music and senses the white and blue dragons. The next day Keiga and Shina feel the green dragon's presence vanish. Hack interrupts saying I'll leave you and go ask around and check weapons in the city. He puts his hand on Yona's head thinking the officers saw my face yesterday, so I'll put her in danger if they see her with me. They continue their way and see a strange ship docked on the shore. Yun says it looks neither government nor merchant. I think they're pirates. Suddenly Keiga and Shina feel the green dragon's presence appear and disappear again. Meanwhile, Hack stands in front of a weapon shop. Suddenly Jaya appears telling him come on, let's have some fun. He takes him to a cafe and talks with him. Hack asks surprised your clothes look different from everyone here. Where were you born? Jaya gets nervous saying I was born here normally. But this is a port city so you can get anything from traders. Hack says speaking of the city I feel it's very strange. At first glance everything seems normal but if you look at people's faces you see no life in their eyes. Jaya replies you're quick to notice. The ruler of this region is Yan Kumji. He has a lot of influence here at the port. Everyone fears him because he does terrible things in secret. Hack asks how terrible exactly. Jaya replies nothing's worse than taking a person's freedom. Anyone who does that should be buried alive. Hack asks you focus a lot on freedom. Did something happen to you? Suddenly Yona and Yoon interrupt them and Hack looks at them saying a strange guy brought me here, but he's shocked to see he disappeared. He goes out asking what brought you here. Yoon tells him Keiga and Shina sensed the green dragon here. Jaya stands on a rooftop saying I was about to be discovered. And that girl with them made my blood boil. He remembers Hack saying you care a lot about freedom, laughs and says of course. 4 dragons and a king I'm supposed to protect? All nonsense, and I'll keep running from my destiny. Even if the king Hiryu appears, I'll destroy him. Meanwhile, Hack and the others continue their way. Suddenly they see officers, so Hack pulls them into an alley until they pass. Then they step out and suddenly the girl Hack saved appears, thanking him for helping her, taking him and the others to the restaurant where she works. Hack tells them what happened with the officers. The girl continues the officers destroy shops taking whatever they want and harass people. We have no choice but to avoid them. Hack asks that's because of Yan Kumji, telling the others I heard he's the ruler here and everyone fears him. The girl confirms and tells them all the officers work under Kumji's authority. To get permission to run our business we pay extremely high taxes. Yoon asks what about the pirates? We saw one of their ships docked. Surely they threaten the city's safety. The girl replies no they never hurt the residents. All they do is attack Yan Kumji's ships. At night one of Yan Kumji's ships sails on the sea. Its captain makes sure no pirates are nearby to interrupt their smuggling operation. Suddenly Jaya appears taking down the ship's lookout. Captain Jigen's pirate ship arrives and orders her crew to attack. One officer shoots an arrow into Jaya's leg making him excited. He throws knives at them and jumps down hitting an officer who was about to kill a fellow pirate. Another officer comes from behind with a sword trying to kill him, but Jaya dodges skillfully and kicks him. After they defeat all the officers, Jigan orders them to burn the ship with the smuggled goods. She then asks her crew where did you put the officers? They tell her we placed them on a small boat and left them at sea. She makes sure none of them were killed. They say they attack us with intent to kill, and you never let us kill them. She tells them I love you all, and I can't let any of you bear the burden of killing. Jigan notices Jaya sitting unusually quiet and asks him. He replies nothing. Just feeling some pain in my leg since yesterday. Strangely it never happened before. After a while Jigan thinks out loud with Jaha, telling him I wish we were a little stronger. I don't want anyone in my crew to die. She asks isn't there someone strong enough for you? He replies enthusiastically about Hack, and she orders him to bring him. The next day Jaya goes to the city looking for Hack. At the same time Keiga feels the green dragon is very close to them but moving extremely fast. Suddenly they hear screaming and a window in one of the houses breaks in front of them. Hack goes closer to see what's happening and finds an officer beating the shop owners. Yona gets angry but Keiga stops her and decides to go in himself. Hack stops him saying leave this to me. Yoon stops them all saying we can't interfere because of the situation we're in. Keiga feels the green dragon is very close so he runs toward him. Jaya is standing on a rooftop watching Hack and suddenly slips and falls right in front of Keiga. At the same time Hack sees a poster with his face drawn horribly and the word wanted written. He tears it apart. Yona sees Jaya's picture next to it and asks is that the man you said helped the girl with you? Hack replies yes and she says I want to meet him. They walk and hear screaming again from the same house as before. Yona runs inside this time and finds a mother holding her son crying. The father tells them my son hasn't moved since the officer hit him. Tears fall from his eyes. Yoon goes closer checking the boy's pulse and finds he's dead. Yona trembles in anger asking Hack how should we help these people. Yin replies we're lacking strength right now. Yona says sadly with tears in her eyes I know, but I can't keep using my weakness as an excuse. If the rule in this city collapsed because of my father then I have to do something. Meanwhile Jaya is stuck inside a large clay pot unable to escape, saying to Keiga this is the first time I've ever felt stupid. When I was a kid I escaped from the Green Dragon's village which was like a prison to me. I hid my existence for so long so the other dragons wouldn't find me. I finally found a quiet place to live thinking I could run forever. And now I find myself in this ridiculous situation. Then he tells him nice to see you. Honestly I never wanted to meet you. Keiga lifts him up with the pot excitedly and starts running. Jaya stops him saying don't draw attention. Keiga says I was searching for you, our lady is waiting for you. It's our duty to protect her. Jaya asks why. Is she a queen? Keiga replies not yet but she will be. Jaya breaks the pot with his heel and lands on the ground, saying I like my life the way it is. I have other things to do. So I won't follow some stranger. Kiga says surprised dragons live and die to protect the king. After thousands of years Our Lady finally appeared. We didn't just inherit the dragon's blood, we inherited the great wish that generations before us longed to fulfill. Jaya replies indifferently, so the one who came looking for me turned out to be just a dragon puppet. And this great wish you're talking about, does it even include your own thoughts? If all your purpose is to obey your master, or whoever, then it's not a great wish. It's a tragedy. You're pathetic, and he leaves. In the air he spots Hack walking and lands in front of him. Hack ignores him, saying, my grandfather told me not to talk to strangers. Jaya introduces himself, saying he's a pirate and his captain admires his strength and wants him to join the crew. Hack immediately replies, I'm not interested. Jaya tries to convince him, saying maybe your lady can come with you. Suddenly Yona appears and Jaya's heart beats strongly, and against his will he kneels before her, his blood boiling and hearing the dragon's voices in his head, just like Kega and Shina, realizing she's the dragon ruler he's been avoiding. Yona worries for him and places her hand on his forehead, checking his temperature, finding it high. Jaya wants to escape, but his body refuses to move. Suddenly Yona asks, are you the green dragon? He's shocked, asking, how did you know? She replies it was just a feeling. Jaya tries to deny it, but suddenly Kega appears, saying he is the green dragon. Hack grabs him angrily for trying to lie. Then Yona tells him, Hack told me about you, so I wanted to meet you. And I'm even happier you're the green dragon. Jaya realizes he underestimated the bond between the king and the 4 dragons, but says to himself, it must be the dragon blood in my veins making me feel this way. These aren't my feelings. He says, honestly, I never wanted to meet you. I didn't even know you were a girl, but I felt the presence of the white and blue dragons. I planned to tell them when they arrived with their master. I don't intend to serve you, so please leave. Yona tells him, I'm not the master of the white or blue dragon. I only asked them to lend me their power, and now I came to ask the same from you. He replies, sorry, but I'm not like the white dragon. I don't wish to live and die serving King Hiryu. I'll choose who I want to protect by my own will, and I'll choose where I die. Yona smiles, saying, I understand. I came to ask a favor, not to give orders, so I'll leave you be. Jaya turns to Hack, saying I was planning to recruit him for my crew. Yona is surprised and Hack explains that the green dragon is a pirate and wants him to meet his captain. Yona says, I want to meet the captain. Jaya asks, surprised, why? Will you give us Hack? She replies, of course not. But since you're fighting Yen Kumji, I want to help. He tells her, come to our ship tomorrow. The next day they go to the ship and Yana introduces herself, as does Captain Jigen. Then Jigen tells her, I'm a person who values trust greatly. I need proof that makes me trust you. Hack replies, no, you just need strong fighters. She tells them, if you can defeat everyone on this ship, I'll trust you. Hack, Kega, and Shina stand ready, and in moments the whole crew is on the ground, unable to move. Jaya tells Jigen it's pointless. Their strength is extraordinary. You practically have 3 of me now. Jigen acknowledges them but asks Yoon what can you do. He replies anything except fighting. Cooking or sewing or fishing or healing. She asks Yona next what can you do. Yona gets nervous, unable to answer. Jigen tells her if you can't do anything you'll just be a burden to us. Leave. Kega angrily replies without her we won't join you at all. But Yona stops him saying the captain is right, but I have reasons that won't let me give up. Jigen admires the serious look in her eyes and agrees to take her, but on one condition, that she must do something to prove she's useful and worthy of trust. Yona asks her what exactly should I do. Jigen replies I want you to prove to me that you have determination by picking some singsu. It's an expensive medicinal herb that speeds up the healing of illnesses and wounds. It only grows in the cloud-covered bay, and the man I usually send to get it is injured now, so if you do it instead of him I'll accept you. One of her crew members is shocked because it's a very difficult task, but Yona agrees without hesitation. Jigen continues I forgot to mention it grows on a very dangerous cliff, and you'll go alone without anyone's help. Yona replies that was my intention anyway. So Jigen orders Jaya to take her and show her the way. When they arrive, Yona finds a very narrow cliff that anyone could only walk on sideways. Jaya tells her you'll walk along it until you find a cave with the singsu, thinking to himself even I know this is too difficult. Fear alone can paralyze anyone. Yona slaps her own face to regain courage and starts moving. Jaya follows behind her on the same cliff. Suddenly a strong wind blows and Yana holds tightly without falling, but feels her leg frozen from fear. She cries heavily and Jaya tells her calmly the wind isn't strong, thinking to himself I was told as a child that absolute loyalty to King Hiryu flows in the blood of the 4 dragons. I always wondered what kind of person that king would be. I imagined an arrogant man who'd use power to control the dragons, but the one standing before me is just a weak girl with no special power. Is she really the dragon's master? He tells her there's no need to push yourself. You can go back if you're scared. You're not forced to succeed in the test or fight Yan Kumji. She replies, no, I won't go back. If I don't do this, I won't be able to face the captain or Hack and the others. She keeps walking despite her shaking legs and tears in her eyes. Suddenly she says, I'm happy I came to get this medicine, because if Hack and the others get hurt, they can heal quickly. He asks, are you afraid of losing someone? She replies, I'm afraid to see someone die in front of me while I can't do anything. She continues her path and asks Jaya, are you coming with me? He gets nervous saying, I'm just watching you and for the record, I won't help you at all. She thanks him saying, for some reason your presence and your voice make me feel safe. Jaya reaches a certain point and tells her I can't go further. Yona tries to encourage herself and continues until she reaches the cave and finds the singsu in front of her. Meanwhile, Jigen notices the wind has changed, which means there will be strong waves. She says that girl will be in danger if she doesn't finish soon. At the same time, Yona tries to return through the difficult path again. Suddenly a huge wave rises behind her. Jaya sees she disappeared and gets very worried. He jumps to look for her and finds her hanging onto a plant. Still, Yona refuses to let him help so she can keep her promise to Jigen. Another wave larger than before hits, so Jae is forced to save her. Yona feels very upset that she needed his help anyway. He comforts her saying, "Don't take it the wrong way. I helped you because it's my principle, but you picked the herb and protected it yourself. That means you kept your promise to the captain, and there's no need to tell her I saved you." At the same time, Hak and the others come to the cliff, worried about her. When they see how dangerous it is, they grow even more anxious and decide to search for her. Jigan stops them so they won't waste all her effort and determination. Hak agrees with her words and stays still, though inside he's boiling with worry for Yona. Shina spots her and points to Yun. Yona and Jae arrive, so they all run to check on her. Yona takes out the herb and gives it to Jigan but admits that Jae saved her. Jae is shocked because she wasn't supposed to say it. Jigan asks, "Will you give up?" Yona replies, "Seriously, no. I'll go and get more myself." Jigan is amazed and laughs mockingly, telling her if Jae had let a girl die in the sea while he stood watching, I'd have killed him. "You're brave, and someone like you would never betray their friends. You passed." At night, Yona stands alone with Jigan. Jigan tells her, "My men are recovering thanks to you and they're all grateful to you. I don't want to lose anyone else." Yona asks, "Surprised you lost someone?" Jigan replies, "Of course. We're pirates and wounds are part of our life. But when this battle ends, I'll disband the crew so they can live their remaining lives normally. But there will be one problem." Yona asks, "What problem?" Jigan replies, "Jae. Because this ship is like home to him, and because he's different he feels at ease here." She asks, "Can you take him with you?" Yona replies, "I want it, but he's the one refusing." Jigan laughs, saying maybe he's not ready to leave the nest yet. Suddenly Jae appears, saying, "Not exactly. I like being alone. When the pirates leave, I'll do what I want. I don't see any point in joining the other dragons, but I'll reconsider traveling with Yona." After Yona leaves, she finds Shina standing staring at the ocean and asks, "What is it?" He replies, "There are ships gathering near the port." Jigan asks how many. He says 7 with armed men on them. Jigan gets excited, saying Yan Kumji is trying to intimidate us. The battle is about to begin. She takes them to a room, giving them the plan and tells them that the trade Yan Kumji is running is the slave trade. Yun is shocked because slavery in this country is illegal. Jigan tells them that's not their only goal. With the power they've gathered, they probably want to eliminate us pirates too. One of her crew members gets fired up, saying, "Let's destroy them." She replies, "Don't rush. If we fight near the port, the civilians will get hurt from the crossfire," and she points to the map, showing them the best place where they can fight them. Jaya says the real question here is when and how they'll move, and which ship will have the hostages. Jigan tells him, "You're right. We have to gather information and find a way to attack without recklessness." The next day, the crew prepares the ship and loads the supplies. The crew asks Hak to train them, and Yoon teaches some of them how to make tools. Yona feels useless and goes to sit alone. Jaya enters, telling her, "I'm gonna scout the town. Wanna come?" Hak sees him carrying Yona and flying with her. Jaya spots a certain carriage and gets worried, landing quickly on a rooftop, hiding Yona and telling her that's Kumji passing by. They watch as people run away, closing doors and windows because Kumji is near. Yona notices a suspicious person hiding from Kumji and trembling with fear. She goes to ask what's wrong. The person replies nothing and tries to leave. But Jaya stops them, realizing it's a woman disguised as a man so Kumji won't capture her and sell her with the slaves. He asks, "You look too scared. Did something happen to you?" She says, "A few days ago my friend and I heard about good work somewhere. When we entered the shop, they took my friend because she was too beautiful and told me to leave. But curiosity made me peek through the door she entered and I saw a trapdoor open and she fell inside. Then I realized the shop belonged to Yan Kumji." Jaeha concludes that this trapdoor is the entrance to the place where they keep the hostages. He reassures her that her friend is alive and will come back. After gathering more information from people, he returns and tells the captain that Yan Kumji will move the day after tomorrow. She replies, "But we still don't know which ship will have the hostages." Yona thinks and says if we launch fireworks from inside the ship, we'll know which one has them. Jigan replies, "You're right, but who's going to launch them?" Yona says, "I'll sneak into the ship and set off the fireworks." Everyone is shocked and protests against her reckless plan. Yoon tells her, "You don't even know how to handle gunpowder or place it properly." Hak says it'll be hard for us to see the fireworks from our position to know which ship to attack. Yona replies, "Surely Shina will be able to see them from that distance." He says yes. Yona insists on her decision and asks Jigan for permission to proceed. Jigan senses from her eyes that she's a seasoned fighter, even though she lived her life away from the world's conflicts. Jigan agrees but tells Yoon to go with her because he knows how to handle gunpowder, and tells them let's draw up the plan. At night, Jigan sits alone. Yona comes in thanking her for agreeing to her request. She sits beside her and Jigan says this battle will cost us a lot too. I always ask them for difficult things. Convincing them to defeat enemies without killing isn't easy. Yona reassures her, saying she has Hak and the others. Jigan tells her, "Don't throw your life away too. When I let you join my ship, you became my daughter, so I won't let you go die." Yona starts crying and Jigan worries, asking what's wrong. Yona says, "I don't remember my mother, but when I see and hear you, whether in your strictness or your kindness, I ask myself if my mother was like that." Jigan hugs her and comforts her. The next day, Yoon disguises himself as a girl so he can enter the shop with Yona, where they take the hostages. They go in and the worker leads them into a room. A trapdoor opens beneath them and they fall down. They're taken to a room full of kidnapped women. Suddenly, Yan Kumji enters and approaches Yona, grabbing her hair, saying there's so much merchandise, so if I take one for myself it won't be a loss. Yoon quickly steps forward, saying take me instead of her. Kumji punches him hard in the stomach and Yoon bleeds. Kumji steps on his head, pressing down while staring again at Yona, but when he meets her terrifying gaze he gets scared and lets go of her. He asks, "Are you from this city?" She replies yes, and he says, "Some time ago I saw a girl with red hair like yours in Hiryu Castle. She was Princess Yona and about your age. Yoon is shocked and Yona thinks, then lowers her head saying I'm the daughter of a poor merchant in this town and came here to work. He laughs saying I see I really exaggerated. Princess Yona has too much pride and self-respect. She'd never bow her head and humble herself for work. He turns away thinking how could I be so stupid? I heard the princess was killed by her own guards. And besides there's no way a spoiled girl like Princess Yona would have that feral look in her eyes. After he leaves all the women are terrified knowing he plans to sell them. One of them bangs on the door shouting let us out. Another woman named Yuri stops her saying it's useless. I've been here for 2 weeks and no matter how much you cry or scream no one will hear you. He only sees us as money and that's how this city has always been. Yona asks don't you want to change this city? Have you ever thought about fighting Yen Kumji and driving him out so you can live freely? Yuri replies only a stranger or a fool would say something like that. Yona says I'm not strong but I know people who risk their lives to change this situation. Yuri says there's no one that foolish. Yona says anyway if one of those fools comes to save you trust them. And if you want to live please do what's necessary. All the women are moved to the ship meant for smuggling them out. Meanwhile Shina sees the ships moving and Jigan signals her crew to move too. Yoon and Yona have their hands and eyes tied. Yoon calls for Shina's squirrel. It comes and bites the rope freeing them. The guard outside hears a strange sound and comes down to check. Yoon ambushes him shooting a tranquilizer needle and ties him up. Yuri notices Yona trembling in fear and her leg injured. She says I'm amazed you're doing all this in your condition. Yona tells her I came here to save you. Right now Yoon and I have to go up and set off fireworks to signal our allies. Yuri stands and says I'll help you. My father is a shipbuilder so I know a shortcut. They hear the sound of the pirates beginning their attack. Hak and the others charge at Yen Kumji's ships fighting until they see Yona and Yoon's signal. Jaeha jumps from ship to ship, helping the crew. Meanwhile Yoon appears before the guards and they chase him. He sets a trap and Yona and Yuri drop barrels on them. Then he goes closer to shoot tranquilizer needles, but suddenly the ship moves and Yoon loses balance. One of the guards grabs Yuri holding a knife to her neck. Yoon panics telling him aren't we your merchandise and you're not supposed to damage your goods. The guard says you're defective goods anyway and insists he'll kill her. Yoon gets more nervous saying I'm actually a pirate and they're innocent. I forced them to help me so let them go. Another guard angrily punches him. Before hitting again Yoon says I rigged this ship with explosives and if I don't stop it myself it'll blow soon. He plans to lure them to take him on deck and light the fireworks to call the others to rescue them. They tie him up and Yona panics hearing them say they'll cut off his head whether there are explosives or not. She runs toward him but a guard stops her. She bites him and he throws her to the ground. She spots a bow and arrows, grabs them and runs upstairs. Meanwhile the guards stomp on Yoon as he lies on the floor trying to stall until he finds a chance to light the fireworks. When they realize he's lying one draws his sword planning to kill him. Yona shoots an arrow beside them threatening them to back away. They see the terrifying look in her eyes and freeze in place. Yoon tells her take the fireworks from my scarf. She runs quickly takes them and lights them. The fire shoots up to the sky and Shina sees it. Hak notices that the ship is very far and calls out to Jaeha. Jaeha takes Shina with him so he can guide him in the darkness. Hak stands behind Kiga and they encourage each other to fight. Each of them defeats a large number of enemies with a single strike. Suddenly a guard appears behind them and Jigan throws many knives pinning him to the ground. She tells Hak and Kiga I know you're tired but if you want to stay here then do your job. They get even more fired up and continue fighting. Meanwhile, the guards get angry at Yona and throw her to the ground, realizing she sent a signal to the pirates. They put a sword to her neck ready to kill her. Yoon tries to stop them saying kill me instead. They step on his head to silence him. One of the guards raises his sword to cut her head off, but suddenly Jaeha lands in front of him kicking him away. The others rush to attack all at once and Jaeha kicks them flying. Yoon loses consciousness watching Jaeha's immense strength blaming himself for being weak and unable to protect Yona. He wakes up later to Yona's voice calling him anxiously. Tears fall from her eyes when she sees him awake. He starts crying too from feeling powerless, but Yona tells him you're the one who made the plan succeed. You're really a genius. Suddenly a ladder is placed on the ship and more guards arrive in greater numbers. Jaeha fights some of them but can't keep up with the crowd. Suddenly Shina appears killing them all. The two of them fight together while Yona and Yoon hide. Yoon thinks about where Kumji could be, telling Yona he must be near the ship carrying the goods. At the same time the guards report to Kumji about what's happening outside and how they can't handle the pirates. He gets furious since he has never failed in smuggling goods and now can't even use the hostages to escape. One of the guards says I don't know the details but one of the goods sent a signal to the pirates and showed them our location so they attacked us. Kumji immediately realizes it's Yona, the girl he has feared since he saw that terrifying look in her eyes. The guard continues we also sent the mercenaries but they couldn't do anything to them. Most of our ships have sunk. We have to retreat. Kumji becomes angrier grabbing his weapon aiming it at the guard, arrogantly saying you want me Yan Kumji to abandon my ship and run away. It took me 20 years to become the ruler. And 10 years have passed since then. Do you think a bunch of pirates led by an old woman and a young girl will destroy 30 years of work in one night? The soldier apologizes trembling. Suddenly Kumji fires the arrow but into the wall. It pierces through passing right beside Jaegan's spy whom she sent. Kumji tells the guards to leave him. Meanwhile Yoon points to a ship telling Jaeha and Shina that Kumji must be there. They've already defeated all the guards on this one. So Jaeha rushes to the other ship and meets the spy who points to the room where Kumji is hiding. Jaeha defeats the 3 guards in front of the door and enters, but finds no Kumji. At the same time, Kumji is escaping on a boat with a guard rowing for him. Kumji says a strong man uses any dirty trick without shame to protect himself. As long as I'm alive, I haven't lost the battle. China spots him and signals Jaya, then jumps toward him. Kumji grabs his bow and shoots at him. Jaya throws his knives but misses. He's hit and falls into the water. Kumji aims again, saying you won't be able to fly again after you've sunk. Suddenly Kumji feels a killing intent coming from the ship. He looks quickly and sees Yona aiming at him. Her eyes even more terrifying than before. Kumji freezes in fear, unable to move. Yona releases the arrow, and it pierces his heart. The sun rises and the pirates inform Jigan that Kumji took an arrow and fell into the ocean. She feels relieved knowing their mission is done. The crew all say they want to sleep. She tells them sleep, but when you wake up you'll be ordinary people again. When they return to the port, Hak and Kega see Yoon and Yana injured and in bad shape. They get angry at the Tide guards and beat them. Afterward they all celebrate the great victory they achieved after years of struggle. Later, Yona walks alone, reflecting on the accomplishment she achieved. Realizing she's gone far from Hak and the others, she runs back and suddenly bumps into someone and falls. The person apologizes and her heart races at the sound of his voice. She looks up and suddenly finds Su. He is shocked too and says, sadly, I heard you died on a cliff. Yona stays silent in shock, remembering her memories with him and breathing heavily. Su gets up from the ground and asks her, what are you doing here? And where is Hak? Then realizes those are stupid questions, since if she's safe then Hak must be with her, risking his life to protect her. He tells her, I'm here to investigate the governor, cause I heard he's been doing illegal things. Suddenly they hear the voice of one of Su's guard captains. Su quickly grabs her and hides her under his cloak so no one sees her or kills her. The captain Judo scolds him angrily for leaving them and walking alone. While they're on a mission, Su apologizes. Yona sees Su's dagger beside her and grabs it. Su immediately puts his hand on her, stopping her. At the same time, Judo tells Su what happened with Kumji. Su replies, I suppose I should thank the pirates. Yona is surprised and Judo asks who will be the governor in Kumji's place. Su replies, I'll decide later. Judo leaves irritated. Suddenly Su asks Yona, do you want to kill me? But she doesn't answer. He says that's natural. But I still can't die yet. There's something I must do first. He releases her hand and Yona drops the dagger. He says goodbye and walks away. Yona stands there in shock, falls to her knees and cries. Hak hears her voice and runs quickly toward the sound, finding her collapsed and not understanding what happened. Meanwhile, Su reaches his guards and Judo mocks him for wasting time. Su mounts his horse and tells them we're going back to Hiryu Castle. The next day, Yona wakes up strangely cheerful. She goes around joking with everyone, saying she's fine and happy. Shina sees her heading to the ship to change her clothes and sends O the squirrel with her to watch over her. Suddenly, the hairpin Su gave her for her birthday falls from Yona's hand. She remembers her memories with him and goes to sit alone watching the sunset, saying to herself, a lot has happened since I left. Suddenly, Hak's voice replies, yeah, that's true. She's startled seeing him beside her, and he says, since I'm your bodyguard, I'll stay glued to you from now on, and if you need anything just call me. She smiles, then says, I'm leaving. Will you come with me? He answers with a smile, of course. Yona notices the others spying on them from behind a rock. Yun says, you should have told us you were leaving too. Yona smiles and asks, want to come with me? They all agree without hesitation. That night they celebrate with the whole town after the fear and terror Kumji caused finally disappeared. At the same time, Jaya sits alone by the sea playing music. Yona comes to him saying she really likes his playing. She sits next to him for a while, then says, don't worry, I'm not here to force you to come with me, and walks away. He grabs her hand and tells her sit a while. He keeps playing all night, and the crew gathers to listen. They ask him to change the song because it's making them sleepy. They refuse to sleep, because when they wake up they won't be pirates anymore, and because Jaya will leave them. So he purposely plays a lullaby, putting them to sleep. He goes afterward to Jigan to say goodbye. She asks, do you know that girl well? He replies, honestly not really. She tells him be careful, her journey will be very hard. He replies, I don't think I can stand her being out of my sight when she's that weak, crying and struggling all the time. The next day, Yona and the others stand saying goodbye to the townspeople, but Yona feels sad because Jaya didn't come and she wanted to thank him. Jigan tells her, if you come back someday you'll find him. She checks on Yona and her health, saying you're no longer a weak little girl. They all joke together. Before leaving, Jigan gives her the singso herb and tells her to take care of herself and her health. After walking away, Yona runs back, hugs Jigan and cries. When they leave and reach the forest, Yona tells them, I'm still upset I didn't say goodbye to Jaya. Kega replies, surprised, didn't he join us? Yona is shocked and Shina draws his sword, cutting down the tree Jaya is standing on. Jaya says, I felt that traveling with you wouldn't be such a bad idea. Yona replies, but you said you didn't want to be bound by the rules of the 4 dragons. He says, yeah, and this has nothing to do with the 4 dragons. I'm walking the path I chose now, and that's what I want to do. After a while, Jaya hunts a deer, and they decide to light a fire so Yun can cook it. Suddenly, Yona finds beside her a man with yellow hair, looking completely worn out and his stomach growling loudly. Yun asks, surprised, who are you? He replies, don't worry, I'm just a traveler who smelled good food. Yona tells him, fine, then sit and eat with us. Everyone sits except Jaya, Shina, and Kiga. Yun asks them, did you sense the yellow dragon yet or not? And do you know where he lives or what he looks like? Yona replies, the legend says he has a strong body. He says maybe his whole body is covered in dragon scales. Hak guesses he'll be a giant man. The 3 dragons look around, and after a long discussion, Jaya says the guy sitting eating with you is the yellow dragon. The yellow dragon replies, are you calling me? He tells Yona, I see you gathered the other 3 dragons, so the whole gang is here. They all stare at him in shock, shouting at the same time. He calms them down and says, my name is Jinnu, and I wanted to eat first before I told you. Keiga says, I felt the yellow dragon was near, but so near that I doubted myself. Jaya asks Jinnu, didn't you notice we were close? He says, either way I don't care. I'm just wandering. Then they ask surprised, didn't you feel anything when you looked at Yona? He stares at her for a bit, feeling nothing, but says she's beautiful. The 3 of them are shocked that he didn't hear the dragon's voices in his head or feel his blood boil like they did. Yona tells him, since you're wandering, how about joining us? He agrees easily without any hesitation, saying he doesn't do anything with his life anyway and really likes the food. Keiga approaches, introducing himself, then asks him to show his strength. Jinnu says, I'm not strong but my body is tough. Hack punches him with full strength to test it, but he flies away normally and feels pain. He says, it's my first time feeling pain. This guy is a monster and his hands are so strong. Jaeha says, you're right, honestly he punches me all the time and I admit it hurts. Yun grabs Jinnu's hand, saying his body feels normal, not hard. I thought Hack was the yellow dragon because his body is so solid. Jaya calms Keiga down, telling him the yellow dragon has his own life. Don't force your way of thinking on anyone. Keiga starts crying emotionally because the 4 dragons have finally reunited after thousands of years. At night, Jinnu sees Yana carrying firewood. He takes it from her and carries it himself. They walk together, talking about how kind the other dragons are. She tells him, I feel you're different from ordinary people, like a warm golden spot of sunlight. We haven't met before, but I feel happy when you're here. Jinnu feels very happy hearing that. The next day they go to Iksu. As soon as Yoon enters, he finds the house a mess and Ik so unconscious and bleeding. His heart's to him fast, finding him alive, but passed out from hunger. Yoon cooks for him, treats him, and gives him water, then starts scolding him for his carelessness. Akisu feels so happy because he missed Yoon scolding him. He stands and tells Yona, your group has grown so much. You look like you've been through a lot. Yoon cuts in, immediately telling Aiki, so we've gathered the 4 dragons now. What's the story of the sword and shield of the king? He replies, they haven't appeared yet. Jinnu interrupts, seriously, saying you're not asking the important questions. He asks Yona, what are you planning to do with the 4 dragons? You were expelled from the castle, so I know you need fighters to stay alive, but will you give up? She replies, of course not. He asks, then will you defeat Su, who stole the throne, and take the castle back? She's shocked and can't answer. Yin replies, we can't attack the castle even with the 4 dragons. Jinnu says whether we can or not. I want to know what she wants. Besides, conquering one castle with the dragon's power isn't impossible. Suddenly he turns the mood into a joke and apologizes, saying, I didn't mean you shouldn't fight, I just wanted to know your plan. Anyway, I'm with you. You're free to draw your own path. At sunset, Hack, Keiga, Jaya, and Shina gather, talking about how strange the yellow dragon is and how hard he is to understand, and about Yona's next step, and how the people don't see the new king as bad like Yona does. They ask Hack what Su looks like. He replies it's hard to talk about him and walks away. At night, Yona sits alone and Aiki. Su enters, asking, are you thinking about what the yellow dragon said? She replies, it's the first time in my life I've spoken to people outside the castle. I've lived a hard life, held the weapons my father forbade me to touch, and saw the bitterness of reality that didn't change during my father's rule. It was discouraging. I discovered that my father prioritized peace above all, but the kingdom wasn't happy. I felt that the more I learned, the weaker I became. But no matter how deep my despair goes, someone always reaches out to help and treat me kindly. And I ended up wanting to protect so many people in the kingdom. Since what happened with the governor Kumje, I've been thinking there must be many towns like his in the kingdom of Kuka. People who need saving. And that's why I decided to watch over the kingdom and help anyone in need. Then she remembers Su and tells Ike, Su, I know you already realized it, but I met Su in the city and couldn't raise my weapon against him. Tears fall from her eyes. He tells her no matter how foolish or hard to understand, no one can let go of love. You may try to stop your heart or fail to forgive yourself, but there'll come a moment when you lose hope and your heart will start beating again. King Hiryu said it himself. Even though humans hate and betray me, I can't do anything but love them. Hack stands behind a tree overhearing their words. After a while, Yona trains with the sword in the rain. Hack appears, saying, you'll get exhausted. Let's go inside a cave until the rain stops. She asks, are you angry with me? He replies, I'm not angry. I'm scared. She asks, because the sword will put me in danger. He doesn't answer because the answer is clearly yes. She tells him, I'm also afraid to see you in danger, so I won't use you as a shield. I'm sorry, but when the rain stops, I'll hold the sword again. He notices the rain has already stopped, but Yona has fallen asleep.